Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm very well, Rod. How is the world with you?
Warm, sweaty. There was a bit of rain, possibly last night, definitely the night before, but it's just a bit. I'm not going to use your word. I refuse. It's humid, Chris.
I thought you were going to say the M word just for a small fleeting moment then, which is why I was listening in. But no, same here. So we've had some rain last night, which was fantastic. It's nice to wake up and everything was just a little damp, which is much needed where I live. So yeah, really good. So look, it's episode 238. It's the 18th of August. It's some point in the afternoon and we're going to dive, I think, straight into follow-up.
That is the plan, yes. So straight off, this story, I mean, we know Tim Cook's leaving Apple. We know this.
Is he?
Yeah, he's leaving Apple. Surprising after all these years. At some point, he was going to leave Apple. They've barely communicated this at all, to be fair to them. But you know, straight out of the blue has come this story. In all seriousness, obviously we've known Tim Cook is going to retire for a while. He didn't want the same mess that was left behind by the Steve Jobs when he unfortunately died well before his time. But let's face it, I think Steve would have had to contemplate this at some point too. I mean, he was in his 60s when he died.
Oh, yes, something like that. Maybe a bit younger.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 60s, you're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably, if only was the way we could look that up and find out. But obviously, Tim Cook has communicated that he's going to retire earlier this year. This was formally his last earnings call, the last one we talked about a couple of weeks ago. And this was just a story. You're going to update us on Steve Jobs' age when he died.
56.
Ooh, 4 years away from me. That doesn't fill me with faith and confidence.
It's not good, is it? He's too young. Far too young.
Far too young. Very talented man. Quite difficult to live with too, I think, but never let it be said he didn't make the dent in the planet that he intended to. However, Tim Cook took on that legacy and he took that little company that Steve Jobs managed to create, resurrect, and turn it into, well, one of the biggest companies in the world.
Well, yeah, I think that's fair. But you're right, he's wanted a good handover in the right way. I think Steve was battling that he was going to live forever and didn't ever want to do a handover. So I think it's fair play to Tim. You know, the best you want to do, I think, is leave in the right way, and so that your team remember you for all the good things and not for just getting up and walking out one day and leaving you with this shambles to pick up.
And Tim Cook brought all the monies. All the monies now belong to Apple. And also, this is the story in 9 to 5 Mac from this week, that he hopes his legacy is that I hope people say I was a good and decent man. If we'd been having this talk about Tim Cook 10 years ago, I would have been entirely behind Tim Cook being a good and decent man, with the possible exception of some manufacturing issues in China and treatment of workers and all that kind of stuff. I think on the whole, yeah, not bad. Not bad, Tim.
Yeah, not bad. But I think, though, even 10 years ago, I'm just going to complain about the products, not about anything else. But even then, we were having butterfly keyboards and they left a Mac Mini lying around for years, and they still were too slow. And Tim obviously did bring back let's just keep the old models around for ages, because why wouldn't we do that? Whereas I liked it when Steve introduced something, the old model was literally dead to him. It didn't exist. Like it went off the website immediately, and it was probably gone from stores immediately. Whereas with Tim, it's been very different. They would be my only feedbacks. But again, I think that if you judged him as a person, I would agree with you. His moral compass was in the right place. I think he was trying to do the right thing. But I think some of the more recent decisions have been a little more challenging.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think historically, like I say, we would have judged him. I don't know if I want to talk about the products because it's a lot to get conflated there. I don't think Tim Cook was a product guy. I think
not at all.
Tim Cook is a look at the stock market, look at the mean earnings on this product. Can we get another?
He's a business guy, isn't he?
He's Mr. Business, is what
Mr.
he
Business.
is, and that's fine. You know, he was all about the production line. He was all about that supply chain. Apple's massively profitable, but what made Apple were the products and the ethos underlying it. And to be judged as a good and decent man, you got to judge the man, not just the businessman. And the ethics around what Apple has done over the course of that, if you look at things like decisions on app stores and developers, if you look at more recent decisions around what apps like X and notification apps that are allowed to continue within the App Store, if you look at the position with the current United States government and how they have responded to people with things like ICE and all the rest of it, I don't know that I would say that Tim Cook was a good and decent man. I might be okay with decent-ish. I'm not so sure about the good part anymore.
Yeah, kind of had the ability to look the other way from time to time, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think you and I are largely in the same place on this one.
Yeah, I think it's fair that we are. And at the same time, I think if you ask your average capitalism naked and root and claw guy, they made all the money, and that's all that matters. By any respect, you're a good and decent guy if you made your company all the money and you made your shareholders all that money back and you put a few quid in your own pocket while you were at it. And from that point...
Yeah, and we did touch on it last week. The money they did per quarter, the last quarter, was the same as what they did per year when he first took over. So he's, from a business standpoint, he's ticked everything.
You're a good businessman, Tim, and I wouldn't take that away from you. You're one of the top businessmen I've ever read about. You absolutely operationalized the crap out of that.
Fair. All right, I'll tell it.
Put that in your tombstone.
I operationalized the crap out of it.
Absolutely. Moving on, in creepy surveillance news, we've obviously talked about Microsoft's recall product ad infinitum, that they were installing a thing into Windows 11 that would continually capture your screen. There was obviously a lot of pushback about that because the database that was securing it wasn't very secure. We had concerns about it not only capturing the text that was on your screen, but obviously when people were sharing things with you, passwords, bank accounts, all with the example that, what was that handbag I looked at about 11 o'clock this morning, was what they were wanting to go back to.
Did you buy a lot of handbags at 11 o'clock in the morning?
Not generally. I did buy a watch yesterday at 11 o'clock, but, not, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not that interesting. Don't get excited. But
I think I don't mind. Whatever you bought is exciting. Maybe you should review it in a couple of weeks.
When I get it, I missed its delivery today, unfortunately. I wasn't expecting it to come so quickly. But staying on topic, this is OpenAI have ditched their version of Microsoft Recall. So they had their own screenshot surveillance thing in place. Instead, it's just going to do keylogging. So every single thing you type in your computer, any text it can see anywhere, it's going to have that, keep a record of it, and send it back to OpenAI servers.
Yay?
No, not yay. Boo.
Boo. No, I was being sarcastic with my yay, I think. This is just dumb, isn't it? I mean, the computer history thing I was reading about was also dumb, but this keylogin is just... what are you going to do with all that? What do they do with that data? Before you know it, OpenAI will just be logging into everything as you because it's got all your passwords.
Computer history files can contain sensitive information. They are not encrypted by computer history, and other programs running on your macOS user may be able to access them. So you've given Codex and GPT work all of your computer stuff, and now every single text interaction with your computer you're storing as well. And you're happily giving this to them, right?
Yeah, you'll literally go, there you go, just take it.
This really bothers me because if nothing else, I think you and I would agree that when you're using one of these LLMs, you get to a point where you're not actually censoring that carefully what it's giving back to you. You do your best, you try and read it, you try and understand the code that it's giving you back, but at some point you won't have paid 100% attention to what it's given you back to paste into your editor. I almost guarantee it. Yep,
I'm nodding for the people at home that can't see me, but I do agree with you. I think you start building up comfort. You get comfortable with it. You get, oh, it's done me a nice graphic. Oh, it's gave me some good responses. Oh, it's written some code for me. And we're going to talk about that in next week's show. You get very comfortable with it. And obviously you can get too comfortable and then all of a sudden it's popping up and alert. Can I have access to your network, please? Why do you need access to my network? Can I have access to this other folder and this folder and that folder? And that is something that Apple, I think to be fair, has done. And I know it's annoyed people, but where they have all the pop-ups that come up to allow apps to have access to things. But actually with Claude, I think that's been really good, and probably OpenAI, because it just gives you a moment just to pause for thought before it goes off to do something that you're not comfortable with.
I think I agree with you. It's largely a good thing. And in one of the point releases for 26 recently, there was that if you're pasting stuff into the terminal, it would warn you about exactly, do you know what exactly you're pasting into the terminal here? Which was a good thing. However, I would point to the example of Windows, I think it was Vista, when they started with all the user account control stuff and continuously popping up things. And people were just like, yes, and not actually reading them. And that's always been the problem with that kind of more granular control, where you just pass the buck to the user rather than managing it as the system. That the user is just going to go, whatever, I know what I'm doing, it's my computer. And I appreciate there's a dichotomy there between, they don't let us do anything with our phones, they'll let us do everything with our computers, and they pass the buck on the computers. I feel like there's got to be a better interaction model here, and anyway, I find this deeply worrying, that knowing what I know about human behavior and how I behave and how you've just admitted you behave, is that people will just become, yes, just get on and do what I want to do. And that's on us as human beings, but that's what human beings do.
Yeah, we get comfortable. Like I say, we get comfortable. We don't like being nagged. So we just want you to just do it. Just do it. Why haven't you done it? And that's the problem.
And that's the perfect segue. Why haven't you done it, Apple? This is a really interesting story. So the ongoing Epic Apple court case, which is, it's epic in its own way these days, where Apple banned Epic from the app stores because they were allowing users to pay for products in-game. I think it was in Fortnite specifically is where this started. One sued the other sued back. It's gone on and on and on. Epic are pretty much winning. I think everybody would agree that they're getting to the point where, and they've got right on their side, that Apple shouldn't have this level of control over the platform. There should be other means of people taking money off them. You should be able to link out to other app stores, other payment methods, all that kind of stuff. And Apple should, and we've said this repeatedly, should have made it just easier. Do what you like, but the App Store payment method is here. And most users would have picked that anyway because it's the path of least resistance. And Epic have pushed back really hard about that, particularly around in-app purchases. Anyway, all these judgments from, I think it's Judge Gonzalez, have gone against Apple. Yeah, Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers have gone against Apple. That you can't have a stay. You've got to go in and do this. You've got to allow alternative payment methods, etc., etc. Suddenly, Apple have gone, oh, but we'd like to settle now, maybe, and that hasn't gone down well.
Yeah, it's not gone down well, is it? I mean, we've talked about this time and time again, haven't we? Where Apple should have been the bigger person in the room. They should be doing this 10 years ago, as marketing guy Phil emailed in the court case, and we saw it. He said, look, we're hitting $1 billion. What's his name? Phil
Schiller,
thank you very much. He emailed saying, we're making $1 billion. We should start, dialing the dial down a bit. Let's not get greedy. Fast forward however long. And they got a little bit greedy. So it's a shame they didn't do that. But I think Apple's now like, oh no, we're on a slippery slope, and they've left it all too late, haven't they? It's again under Tim Cook's watchful eye. This behaviour's been allowed to happen, and it would have been great if they'd have come out. I don't know, say 5 years, halfway between now and the 10-year period when they first said, why don't we dial it down, and made an announcement of, oh, we're going to dial it down now. We're making so much money. We always said we wouldn't run this for profit. We're going to do the right thing, but they didn't do it.
Yeah, I don't see Epic going for this. I mean, they seem to be on a bit of a streak. Why would they want to settle when it's costing this much money at this point? And I know they settled with Google when we were talking about this before, that they came up with some arrangement, and I think Epic was about to reappear back inside of the Play stores. I haven't really been keeping up with the Google side of it so much, but what we're not seeing here is that the Epic is back. We're not seeing Fortnite back on iOS or on the Mac or any of that kind of stuff outside of the alternative app stores in the EU. I mean, Epic aren't. They're in this to make money as well. I think they've made some questionable decisions. I'm not saying this is all on Apple, but I think we're all slightly invested in this because we want to see the right decision being made by Apple, and that decision is what we said before, that they just need equity and not need to screw every last cent out of every single thing that on a platform that the developers bring the value to.
I completely agree with you. Developers should be treated better than they have been. Let's put it that way. So no, I agreed with you here, and thus it rumbles on. I can't imagine Epic's going to want to settle because they look amazing on this, don't they? This is doing their reputation some good.
And similarly, that Apple has now dropped their commission demand to 15% of App Store purchases as opposed to 27%.
Not dropped yet. They've proposed it.
Proposed this. This is what they're after. Is they want to propose a 15% charge instead of a 27% for external purchases. 27% is what they charge now. That's what they want to charge for external purchases. And we've seen in other regions that it tends to work out by the time of processing fees and everything anyway. About 27% you end up paying anyway. And you need to give Apple all this tracking information about what people have bought and where.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
It's just nickel and diming. It's almost like if we can make this as difficult as possible. Malicious compliance was the phrase we were using a lot in the early days of this story. And I still see it.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I think Apple, for whatever reason, they haven't got better. Do you know what I mean? They've just blazingly carried on, and it's just not a good look. Like, stop it. You just want to say, just stop it, and let's just be grown-ups around this. Yeah,
so after Judge Gonzalez was saying you've got to allow alternative purchasing methods, this has gone back and forth, and there was like a 24-hour, they were given 24 hours to fix something, and that's where the settlement came thing before. And now the proposal is 15% for standard apps, which are subject to a 30% in-app purchase, 10% for video partner program, and 5% for small business program. So, I mean, they're just charging effectively minuscule differences in what they were charging before.
Yeah, They're just trying to dress it up.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on that story. I'm interested to see what happens next, whether Epic actually come to the negotiating table again, or they'll just leave it in the hands of the courts.
Yeah, they've got nothing to lose at this point, have they?
No. I presume both sets of lawyers are doing quite well out of it, though.
Yeah, they've got to be printing some money there, haven't they?
Should we do some news?
Let's do the news.
So this is a slightly bizarre story to me, actually. So this is featured in Ars Technica on the 13th of August. Sort of an official directive from the White House that private security firms will be allowed to hack overseas cyber criminals. So this used to be the purview of the United States government, presumably the CIA, NCA, some three-letter agency or whatever. When American businesses were being targeted, it was state-managed bodies that were responsible with sort of reactions, responses, all that kind of stuff. The Trump administration is going to allow private security firms to do this. So they're going to endorse the use of private companies like CrowdStrike and things of that nature to actually go on the offensive when it comes to cyber criminals. And I don't know how I feel about that.
It's because they want to pay them to do some work for them. That's what it is, isn't it? So they're just legitimizing. They've also got a plan in mind. I kind of agree with you here. Like, oh, okay, no, it's legitimate, like, for security firms to do this. I kind of agree with you here. This it feels like a slippery slope.
Yeah, I mean, where does this end? Do you aggressively go and attack some state-run business out of North Korea or something like that, and then you charge the government after the fact, or are you commissioned by the government to go and do it? Because if you're a capitalist company, which they are, then surely it's in results. Yeah, we took down 7 cyber hacking rings this month. You now owe us $15 million. I wonder who sits on the board of that company, by the way. Not that I think there's any corruption at all in this kind of stuff. See the World Cup stuff. But you know what I mean? This is a step too far when it comes to private industry being involved in state-sponsored hacking and things like that.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I think just no good will come of this, which is a statement I use often on this show. But it's not good, is it? They're kind of trying to legitimize what they're trying to do, and it's a very grey area.
I mean, they're saying minimum standards that participating companies must meet in order to take part in the program, which will include appropriate levels of technical proficiency, proven performance of cyber operations, facility, security, personal vetting, competence, reliability, and other factors that program executive directors, in coordination with the Homeland Security Council, determine are relevant or necessary for guaranteeing high confidence. That's really wishy-washy. That's just like, it's almost like the router thing we were talking about a couple of weeks before. No more Chinese routers, unless you're Starlink, in which case you can use what you like.
Yeah. It's exactly that, isn't it? It's just, unless you're Grace Al Pram, you can't come in.
It just smacks of cronyism, and I really don't like it.
Completely agree.
Something else that we might like for a change, and I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out, is Mark Waterman has dropped a new app. Have you seen this?
I've seen it, I've installed it, and I've uninstalled it.
I saw it. I thought I don't want to install it, and I thought we'd talk about it instead. So you've installed it. Tell us about it.
I bounced pretty quick from it, if I'm being honest. So I installed it the other day because I often end up just using notes with a little checklist on it. And I thought, just give it a go. He sounds like me. He just wants a list of stuff that he's got to tick off. And when I create a list, I want to enter the minimum amount of information. I usually just want a one-liner. And then I had a quick go on it and it's like, it's asking me for lots of things. I don't want to do that. That's just not how I work. I literally just want a checklist, right? I've got half an hour. Do I need to do something around the house? Do I need to fill out some paperwork for a form for the bank or whatever it may be? And so I bounced really quickly off of this. I thought it looked nice. I like the design. It's modern. It's very different to his other apps. So it's a task manager. It's called Unforgettable. Now he's saying it's for people with ADHD because that's what he thinks he has. And it's a reminders app and it uses the reminders database underneath. So it's all very clever and it's been partially vibe coded, partially he's coded it. It's got a great icon, by the way. I really quite like the lighthouse icon. I think that's kind of cool. They did have icon designers on their podcast recently, which is really interesting. Somebody that's been trying to launch some apps and make some icons. It's hard making a good icon, and it's a real skill, and I don't have it. So I really enjoyed the icon. I like the aesthetic of it. I like that it was a bit different, but it just wasn't an app for me. And it's about £20 a year. You get a 1 week free trial. So I think that was all reasonable, but it just wasn't for me. Like I say, it was asking for too much information. I bounced very quickly off it.
Yeah, you've not sold it to me particularly. I like Marco. Marco's other app is obviously Overcast, which you and I both use to listen to podcasts. I've come and gone on it occasionally. I like the smart speed feature. That's something that is... Go on.
I've just removed it this week.
Oh, that's because you've written your own, though. I like the smart speed feature because you can get through podcasts a little bit quicker. And if you're listening to a long series of podcasts, that's quite good. I think the playlist feature is quite good as well. So, I'm a supporter of Marco Arma in the sense of he writes good apps. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he does. And he's generally quite well thought out. He does good design. He thinks about the layout of it. And Overcast has been amazing, right?
Yeah.
But I've only bounced off it because I've gone and made my own, which is way simpler because I don't really do playlists. I just literally turn up, I listen to a podcast slightly faster than what it's transmitted at, and then I move on.
Yeah, and that's reasonable. I understand why developers seek subscriptions for things rather than one-off payments. You got to do version updates. I think you could have charged for an annual update anyway. That used to be the software model without calling it a monthly subscription or an annual subscription, and you'd probably get loyal users will come back and pay for it, for that kind of thing. And having a working version that works for 2 or 3 older versions of an app, perfectly reasonable business model. I can't believe that there's a lot of database requirements or anything for something like this because it's using Apple's internal models, so it feels a bit cheeky to charge that amount. And my impression from him talking about it, or when I've heard him talk about it, is that it's too easy to dismiss an Apple reminder. He wants something that's going to really get in his face, and so he'll actually do the thing, which, fine. I get that. I've dealt with that, but I haven't dealt with that, sort of reaction to things. But this doesn't sound like it's for me, but I think it's worth talking about because, established developers releasing new apps isn't something that happens a huge amount, so it's always worth having a look at them.
I completely agree, and that's why I checked it out. I thought, I like his other apps. I'll give it a go. Like I say, he normally lays out good apps. They're well tested, but it just wasn't for me. And I thought the £20 a year, I was thinking about it. I thought, that's just fine. I thought that was fine because it's not a huge amount of money. You pay for it in one go. You wouldn't have it coming out every month. And I thought, that's okay. But sadly, it just wasn't for me.
Again, though, it's the fact that it's not using. I suppose you invest a bit of time developing this, and if you get 500 users at $20 a pop, then you've probably got your development time. You got your Claude tokens back for the development of it anyway.
Well, that's it. He's got to cover costs, and he is a full-time developer. It's not like he's doing it as a side project for a bit of fun.
Yeah, fair. Moving on. News of a Mac hack that's actually under active exploitation at the moment. We never like to see these things. This has been highlighted by some Dutch researchers, but at the NCSC, which I presume is the Netherlands National Cybersecurity Centrum, and they have identified a screen sharing bug in macOS. So it's flagged as a high severity vulnerability, but I wonder how many people this actually affects, because what this looks for is an open port if you've got screen sharing enabled on your Mac, which I don't know if it's by default. I thought you had to check it so it came on.
Yeah, I do have it on this Mac because I'll dial into it from the house. So I do use screen sharing, and if memory serves, you have to turn it on.
So you have to turn it on, and then the Mac needs to be openly accessible on the internet, so with no firewall in front of it that's blocking that particular port.
Yeah, that's my understanding. So hopefully most people are covered because they wouldn't have this turned on, and B, they'd hopefully have some form of firewall.
It's a pretty nasty bug, though, and you need to patch it because, let's face it, there may be occasions where people have deliberately opened up this to a desktop Mac so they can hit it when they're out in the world and presume that the security model is good enough in macOS that you're going to be okay. Now, obviously, you shouldn't be, and you should never open ports on your router or anything like that without having a really, really, really good reason or an appropriate level of security on the other side of it. So this is quite a nasty bug, and attackers can get in and do whatever they like, basically, once they've got access to this. It's a flaw in state management, which keeps track of preceding events, user interactions, variables, and other system states. So, that's not good.
No, I'd agree. It's not good. And I must confess, it's one of the reasons I've stopped using Tailscale, because Tailscale always felt to me a little bit voodoo. And I thought if they get hacked, somebody just could be into anything. And that's why I pulled away from it. Obviously, it could be the same for my Ubiquiti setup that I've got. But because I didn't understand Tailscale, I thought I'm going to just step away from it. But it is a risk, right? We all you get comfortable. You might have something hanging off the internet. You don't realize this port's opened. And then all of a sudden, you could be hacked. It's getting the balance right, isn't it, I think?
Yeah. These mesh networks, Netbird, Tailscale, Headscale, all these kinds of things, they're only as strong as the access point and the network behind them. However, I will say in their defense is that they do use WireGuard as the underlying security network that connects them together. And that is an open source model that is well understood as an attack vector. Your vulnerability is in the command and control, so you're trusting in head scale or in tail scale's case that they remain good actors and not malicious actors. And I think there's probably enough corporate impetus behind them that they're not going to become malicious actors. So I don't use Tailscale anymore, and there is the open source alternative Headscale where you have your own command and control server.
It's a good name.
It's good because it uses the same sort of underlying technology, and then you can be the person that wires it all together. My networking chops aren't good enough to do that though. So
mine either.
I've gone to NetBird, which is a European company that offers the same sort of thing. And I do trust it enough that it's wiring my computers to get enough together. I have sufficiently complex password, two-factor authentication. Of course, I'm not immediately invulnerable. I think the convenience it gives to me to be able to treat my widely distributed computers as one network by name is worth the hassle to me. And I've even done things like wired up my old Synology NAS to it, because there's a client for that you can run via the terminal, which means I can access it when I'm way outside of the home network without opening up Synology's very leaky, terrible internet-facing stuff. So I think the risk outweighs the reward outweighs the risk in that case for me.
No, understood. Makes sense.
So that's it. Turn off screen sharing if your Mac is likely to be accessed by the internet. Is the be-all and end-all of that.
And install updates.
And then, last but not least, apparently Apple have done the unimaginable and leaked their own product in the current version of macOS Tahoe. So the RC candidate for macOS Tahoe 26.7 includes a video of some guy using his Apple AirPods with cameras built in.
Well, we believe they've got cameras built in because you can't actually see anything in the video, can you? But there's a guy holding a book up, and you can see he's got an AirPod in, and the video basically says you can use Apple Intelligence to remind you to do something later. I can't remember the words verbatim, but it does feel like they've leaked their own thing. And I guess they're getting this ready to ship because I guess these AirPods will ship in September, or will be announced in September. I'm not sure I'm up for this myself, but it's been rumoured for a while, hasn't it? These cameras, Apple have got vision intelligence technology. It's going to be really interesting to see how they play this, how you can tell if you're talking to somebody whether they've got their cameras turned on. So really curious to see when they announce it. But I don't think we're that surprised because feels like it's been in the hopper for a while. I wonder if they're going to do a camera version and a camera-free version though, because sure they're going to be draining batteries. Some people won't want them. All of that. It feels like you're going to have more AirPods than ever.
I think this is problematic for Apple if they go sticking cameras on devices like this. We're beginning to see a lot of pushback for the Meta, what they called Meta, the Meta AR glasses anyway, the ones that have cameras, Meta Frame, something like that.
I can't. Yeah, no, I can't. Yeah. Sorry, I'm having a complete mind blank.
I've blanked on it. So the Meta Oakley Ray-Ban, devices that people are wearing to gigs and recording people and being generally creepy with them. Adding, even if they don't work like that, even if they're not actively capturing things around you all the time, that you have to ask them to do a thing. I don't like the proliferation of cameras where you don't know about them. Somebody may find a way to hack them, use them in a way that's unspecified. I also don't believe, unless you're visually impaired, you need something described to you all the time, that the average person needs this. You can see what that book is. You could take a picture of it with your iPhone and be really obvious that you're taking a picture of the book to capture that for your note or whatever it is. I don't think this is a case where the risks and the rewards don't balance out for me.
Yeah, I think I'm with you here. I've been trying to detect my life a little bit, so I am definitely in that place.
So that's that. And I think that might be it for news. Yeah, that's it.
That's it for news. It is a quiet year, isn't it?
We're gonna have some of our shortest podcasts of all time. Should we do some media?
Let's do the media.
Changing lanes.
So I popped this in. Of course, this was me. I was like, changing lanes, what's Rod on about? And of course, this was me. I put this in there. So I like this film. I went back and rewatched it recently. It's Samuel Jackson and what's his name? Ben Affleck. And it's just an interesting film. I think it's shot quite well. And it's not got great reviews. But basically, Ben Affleck ends up driving into Samuel Jackson's car, hence why it's called Changing Lanes. They have a rub together. Ben Affleck tries to just pay him off so he can get to court on time. Samuel Jackson needs to get to court on time. And basically Ben Affleck leaves a document behind, and therefore the film kicks off and they're both trying to get at each other. And I just think it's a good film. Like I said, I like the direction on it. I thought did pretty good performances. And I went back and watched it last night and watched it all the way through. And yeah, I had a happy 2 hours.
Huh. Never seen it.
Never seen it. Well, that's disappointing. Like I said, I think it's pretty good. What else did I watch? I also watched... What did I watch?
I mean, let me just come in on that. So you enjoyed it. Is it something I actively seek out, or something that's just, if it's on in the background, this is worth a watch?
I'm not going to tell you actively to seek it out, because you'll watch it and go, Chris, that was a waste of my life.
Wow. Okay, that says a lot.
Because I think you and I quite like different films, so I'm not sure you'd go for it. But I quite enjoyed it.
I don't know that that's true. I mean, I think we both appreciate different things in films, it's fair to say, and we both have different capacity for what it is we're going to sit and watch. I think one of my choices might be a little controversial for you this week, for example. But so, what is this? Is this a legal thriller? Is it a drama? What is it?
There's a little bit of legal in it because Ben Affleck is a lawyer and Samuel Jackson's trying to get custody of his children. So it is set around that, but it's more of a moral story, I would suggest. But I just generally quite enjoyed it. But just like I said, I think it's well shot. It's an early 2000s film. They're both playing characters quite different, I think, to what they normally play. Just thought it was well done. I just didn't like the direction of it. Some great shots of the city and that. Very enjoyable.
Who's the director?
No idea.
Roger Mitchell. What else has he done?
No idea.
Yeah, you've done well with this. So he's South African. His lowest rated film was Hyde Park on Hudson with 39%, and his highest rate was 98%, Nothing Like a Dame, and I don't recognise anything else he did. Oh, he did do Notting Hill. Well,
yeah, so he did Notting Hill. So there you go.
Okay, all right, yeah, fair enough. No, I mean, this is the kind of thing I don't think I'd actively seek it out. I blow a bit.
Maybe if you saw it, or if it was on Netflix or something, you might give it a cursory start.
I wouldn't turn it off if it was on. I think we'd say that. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
That sort of fits in my review. Okay, I watched a couple of films this week. I went back and I watched the classic Arnie Running Man.
Yes, Rod.
Because I'm a child of the 70s and it happened in the 80s, and Arnie films were just a thing that you did.
100%.
In the 80s, and I love an Arnie film. This is interesting. I'm surprised. I'm looking at this now that the audience and critics were so low on this, because I think this is viewed as kind of a schlocky classic.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of those films. Maybe it wasn't well received in the year, but people look back on it with reverence, and it's got a bit more of a following, I would suggest.
Yeah, I mean, lots of splats here. The audiences are meh, but I think this holds up. You get what you pay for, actually. The performances are pretty good. Arnie's putting it in there. The actor, or he wasn't an actor, he was a game show host that they choose to play Killian, Richard Dawson. Is absolutely terrific in it, actually. He directed lots of Family Feud, as they called it in the United States, but we'd call it Family Fortune. Our survey said that show. Apparently he's an English-American performer, for want of a better word. But this is great. I will say, if you just watch Predator and then you watch this, they've ramped up the one-liners in this film compared to what came before. But what I will definitely say is this is a much better film than the Edgar Wright one that came after it. It's a tighter storyline. It's well done, and it does what it says on the tin. He runs.
He's a man, and he's running.
Yeah.
I haven't watched this for a while, but now you've said about it, I actually want to go back and rewatch, because the Edgar Wright film, it was okay, but it was disappointing at best, sadly. And I love him as a director, but it didn't have his style to it. It was really disappointing.
It was extremely disappointing, and the product placement was egregious.
The Alpine advert at the end really, really got to me. Although
watching this again, there's like a little Adidas crown on the Running Man advert, suits and all that kind of stuff. But this is good. Maria Conchita Alonso is very good in it. It's just quite a well-constructed film, and it zips along. It does what you want from an 80s action film. So I think they've been a bit harsh with this, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching it again.
Yeah, I've just put it on the list as you were talking.
Nice. The other 80s film I watched this week, my daughter was round on Thursday last week, and we've obviously been in a bit of a thing. We did Spider-Man, we did The Odyssey and all that kind of stuff, and we just wanted some... to be honest, I offered her a rom-com because she's had to watch a lot of my stuff recently. So we watched Working Girl, which stars Sigourney Weaver, Melanie Griffith, and Harrison Ford. 1988, and it's terrific. It's a proper, tightly directed, well-scored, amazing performances. It's nice to go back and watch a film that you haven't watched in about 30 years, genuinely, because I always discredited Melanie Griffith as being a fairly average actress that was placed in things because she was A, very pretty, and B, Don Johnson's girlfriend. And I've done her a massive disservice. She does a huge amount in the material with this. And Harrison Ford is terrific in it. Sigourney Weaver playing very against type as sort of the sort of manic boss in this, whereas normally she's the heroic one that's going out there splatting aliens. This is a great film, and I think it's also doing it a disservice to call it a rom-com. It's just a very well-constructed film that zips along. It's got some good things to say. I think it's quite empowering to everybody involved in it, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And Anna, child of the 2000s, thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's interesting. I've just made a note. I'm not even sure I've heard of this film, so I will maybe check it out.
What is fascinating are the people who pop up in very minor roles all the way through it. So Alec Baldwin plays the boyfriend at one point, a very young Alec Baldwin, before he's in The Hunt for Red October or anything like that. Must be one of his first roles. But particularly interesting, and he actually got a headline, well, he certainly got a credit, and if I scroll down, I'm sure I'll find him. Oliver Platt is also in it. You're going to talk about The Bear at some point. Oliver Platt is Unk in The Bear. And Kevin Spacey in what must have been one of his first performances as well.
Well, that's quite interesting. Just on that theme, though, back to Changing Lanes, just very briefly, there's a small part in there for a very young Stuart out of The Big Bang Theory, isn't it? The guy who owns the comic book shop. And I had a double look because he had hair, he had like lots of curly hair, and I was like, that's Stuart out of The Big Bang Theory. And I did just go and quickly check it, but it's quite interesting when you see people pop up and you didn't realise they were in that film.
This is a great film, and I think the critics were right and the audience was wrong. And I think if you've got 90 minutes to spend, and I think your good lady wife would certainly appreciate you watching this with her for a change, perhaps, but genuinely you're doing it a disservice calling it a rom-com. It's a really well constructed film, and everybody in it is at the top of their game. It's great to see.
Yep, okay, it's on the list.
Last but not least, bit of TV. I finally finished season 5 of Clarkson's Farm. Have you watched this?
Yes, we have finished it.
Did we talk about this? I
don't think we did. So we finished it quite late, but not quite as late as you. Only a couple of weeks ago did we finish it.
I mean, Clarkson's Farm is an excellent TV show. It's got pretty much everything you want from a TV show. It's got drama and entertainment and pathos and death and sort of everything that you'd want within that, and on all things.
A bit of light-hearted comedy from time to time. Bit of swearing.
Yeah, a lot of swearing. Some fairly grim things involving animals. Some amazing things involving animals. And I think what he's done, if nothing else, is highlight the importance of farming in the United Kingdom and around the world. And that's not a bad thing, particularly in light of climate change and everything that we've got going on at the moment. And that's very stark in this season, and that was last year. And they haven't had it as bad last year as they're having it this year. So, fair play to Jeremy Clarkson for highlighting what's going on with farmers. I mean, he's in a privileged position where he's making huge amounts of money out of making this TV show and not having to live off the earnings of his farm.
Right, he's already minted, isn't he? So I'm not even sure he needs to do it. But fair play, he's gone and done something. He's kept busy.
And he's working very hard. And I think that the not secret revelations of what has happened with his health during this and his animals' health during this, I think are important to highlight, really. And for all, I think, rightly so, lots of people are down on Jeremy Clarkson's for some of his comments about people in the past and some of his actions to people in the past, and his slightly misogynistic, sexist, homophobic, and potentially racist views from time to time as well. He's not a straightforward character. However, he does make a really good entertainment program, and
100%.
And he's actually doing something worthwhile for an underrepresented group, farmers in this instance. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And when he passed on the secret of, it's not a secret, passed on his cancer diagnosis to Charlie and Caleb, you could see they were genuinely shocked, for what was going on. They obviously had no idea that this was coming. And I think there's a lot in Clarkson's Farm, and I have a lot more time for the man than I thought I would have at this point in my life, frankly.
Yeah, so we watched it, but we struggled a bit with it, I think, because it was so down. My son even left the room for the last episode because he was like, I don't want to watch it because I know it's bad. Wow. Which was odd because it's normally something the three of us will watch together, the three boys in my house. And my wife will watch it if she's around. And because it's filmed quite close to us, it's quite nice to see it because sometimes you see places you recognise, and we drive past this pub quite frequently. So it was nice to watch it, but it was a bit of a downer though. I'm sorry. And I do feel for him, but he normally does, if there is a down point, he normally ends on a high, but they never brought it back around on this one.
I mean, there are ups and downs to life, and I think that should be reflected in television. So,
yeah, true.
Enjoyed it. Games?
Got them.
I've only got one brief thing. So, as a child of the Commodore generation, talk to see our console tier list for more on that. A huge part of one of the games that really got me into the difference between the Amiga and the Commodore 64 was a thing called Defender of the Crown. It was by a software publishing group called CinemaWare. They did a bunch of really important early games on the Amiga, that things like TV Sports Football and other things. It came from the desert and stuff like that. They made sort of very cinematic-looking games. And they've just, or Egg Development Company has just relaunched Defender of the Crown. So this is like you getting your remaster of Command and Conquer, really. That I'm amazed to see that somebody has brought Defender of the Crown back, both in its classic sense, and apparently there's a bit of a roguelike going on within it as well, because every game's got to have some roguelike elements these days. I haven't bought this yet. I think I'll wait for it to go on sale on Steam, but I just think this is fantastic that stuff like this is reborn for another generation.
I agree. I think it's quite nice when you get your remaster game that you loved longingly, but you want it slightly updated, because we all remember games and you go back and play them. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot how pixely it was or how bad the sound was. So it is nice when they get a slight tweak like that. It
is. Main show?
Go on then.
We don't have a lot to say this week, really, but one of the things that has transpired, and we've talked about them in the past, is Google had its Pixel event, its annual Pixel event. So obviously I did a Android challenge a couple of years back where I used nothing but Android for a month, and I got on surprisingly well, I think it's fair to say. I established that it's very easy for an Apple person to live within that ecosystem, even if all you've been used to is Apple stuff in the past. And it's also important information that you can, if you take a problem with the stance of a company or something, that you have at least got a certain amount of choice on the other side of the fence to be able to go over there. So I watched the Pixel events with interest. Did you catch any of this?
Nope.
So it's all on me.
It's all on you, but I'm sure I'm going to ask you some questions. I've got a question around their colour schemes in a minute. I didn't watch it. I just have, every year that Google do something, I have zero interest in it. I'm more interested in the Samsung stuff, I'll be honest.
Okay, so Google obviously watch what Apple do fairly closely. They have announced the Pixel 11, see the iPhone, the Pixel 11 Pro and Pro XL, see the iPhone Pro and Pro Max. They've announced the Pixel Buds, a Pixel Fold, and a watch. Now, I've never in my life ever seen anybody using a Pixel Watch, so I'm going to dismiss that. Maybe
how would I know?
Well, it's just a round Android watch, right?
Yeah, I'll be honest, when I see somebody with a round watch, I don't really know what it is, like a round digital watch.
Yeah,
smartwatch.
Could be a Garmin, could be an Android.
You can normally tell a Garmin, to be fair. They've leaned into their aesthetic and they've kept that going.
They also announced a Pixel Tag, which is their version of an AirTag, really. And I think there's some cooperation between the companies now that Pixel Tags are trackable on iPhones and vice versa, so you don't get that stalker situation where they put the other company's tag in your car or in your bag without it being reported. So I think that's a good thing that they've got that going.
Can you imagine how short amount of time they spent naming these products?
Well,
what do Apple call it? Oh, they call it the tag. Let's call it the tag.
Yeah, but you could level the same blame at Apple, couldn't you? Oh, it's iPhone 11, is it? It's iPhone 12, is it? You know, it's exactly the same. I have no problem with them calling it that. Samsung, I think, actually named their products better. That you do understand that the 26th generation phones are from the year 2026. You know, I don't even know what iPhone we're on. 17 Pro, right?
Yep, that was from 25.
Yeah. So, but you've got to tie that up. Whereas at least
don't ask me what chip's in it.
No, exactly. I mean, Google are responsible for that. So I think Samsung have got this right. Google and Apple less so. So getting on to the products, it's been a really weird year. You can see that the hardware RAM crunch, Rampocalypse is affecting Google as much as it is everybody else. That when you look at what's in these devices, there's a bunch of claims like Pixel 11 features an all-glass camera bar that is 40% thinner than the last generation. Nothing else has really changed. In fact, some things have got worse. These used to come with 16 gigs of RAM. They're down to 12 gigs of RAM. They've done the same trick Apple have done, where they're claiming, it's $100 more expensive or £100 more expensive for the phone, but you get more storage, but that is the base storage. So it's exactly the same trick that Apple pulled with the iPhone 17.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Going down in RAM, though, that's quite a tough pill to swallow in a world where we know all the AI models want more RAM if you can give it to them. Yeah.
So it's gone up by 100. I think it's $899 now for the standard Pixel. The processor is effectively the same as last year. You've lost a little bit of RAM. The camera's a little bit brighter. The sensor's not got an awful lot of difference in it. It was a small sensor anyway. And it's got some nice pastel colours. Frost, Obsidian, Hibiscus, and Pistachio for the bog standard Pixel 11.
Who named those?
Well, I think that's okay. Frost will be white, Obsidian will be black, Hibiscus will probably be a bluish colour, and Pistachio will be a green colour. I know what those things are.
Which one's the pink one? There's a pink one in the picture, and Frost is probably the purplish one.
Well, all right, fair enough. I mean,
that's why I don't like the names.
Yeah,
it's something different, but I don't like the names.
Blue, green, and pink.
Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, I to be honest, I don't mind the colours though. That's quite a nice sort of lavendery blue.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd rush for either of them, but yeah.
The Pixel is the default Google phone, I think. Samsung probably make better hardware, certainly more robust hardware, as long as the batteries aren't too explodey this time around. But I think it's not an offensive looking phone, and they beat the path when it comes to an all across the phone sensor bar that Apple have absolutely followed with their massive Mesa.
It looks fine. Like, that's it, isn't it? It's fine.
I mean, a phone's a phone these days. All you really want is if you put a case on your phone that it sort of balances, and if not, it lies flat on the table and doesn't rock around, which is what they do now.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
So that's the Pixel 11. The Pixel 11 Pro and XL also go up $100. Basically, Google have done a Google and say the hardware hasn't changed. The biggest hardware features in these are they support slightly faster plug-in charging and slightly faster wireless charging. And they're the only Android phone that supports magnets as well. So you can actually stick this to a MagSafe connector and it will stick on your car dashboard. Samsung don't offer that, certainly in their default phones. Other than that, they've added, and you won't believe this, Chris, they've added a light on the back called the Pixel sensor, or the Gemini sensor, I think it is, that lights up in different colors depending on the message that comes in on the back of it.
Yeah, I don't want that. It's bad though, isn't it, that that's our innovation in 2026? Like, we put a light on it and it can change colour when Rod calls you as opposed to your wife.
Well, and you can see if it's thinking when you're asking Gemini to do something for you. That's useful, right?
What, round the back?
Well, because you put it face down because you don't want the notifications distracting you, so you have it upside down so the sensor on the front tells you that it's thinking, right? You might sense some sarcasm. I don't know.
Yeah. This just feels a bit of a shame. I mean, the hardware looks nice, don't get me wrong. The fit and finish on it looks good. This just isn't for me. I'm sorry.
I mean, this is all slightly, it's got a 50 megapixel wide sensor and a 48 I think these are very, very light, breathed-on updates to what they had the year before. So
maybe they've struggled, like you've already said,
Yeah, 12 gigs of RAM again, 256 model, 100 more expensive, slightly faster charging all around. It's a very, very incremental upgrade where they've leaned on software for Gemini to do more things for you. They've also released a Pixel 11 Pro Fold because they have a folding phone. We'll find out very shortly if Apple have a folding phone too. It's a little bit brighter. It goes up to 3,600 nits. I think it was 3,400 nits or something last year. So these are, again, even on this, are very incremental updates. And if you remember the Jerry Rig Everything video from last year, the problem we have with the Pixel Fold is that the hinge is very delicate. They say they've bumped that up as well, but again, if you remember the Jerry Rig Everything video, it actually blew up when he started putting dust and things in the hinge last year. So I hope they fixed that.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, it's not either way. Not for me. I still don't know if I want a fold phone. I need to see it. I don't know.
I think the critical thing here is this has gone up $100 as well, and now the base price is $1,899. If Google are charging that for the Pixel, Apple aren't going to be a million miles away with it.
Apple are going to be like, hold my beer.
Yeah, you got to think, haven't you? There's a new G6 Tensor processor in there, so that's the 6th generation of that. The Tensor's not a great chip. I think Apple are absolutely killing it when it comes to silicon. Samsung make use of the Qualcomm Qualcomm Snapdragons. Have I got that right? I think I've got that right. And they're very good processors as well. I think the Tensor is adequate. It's meant to focus on large language models and things like that. Photography, I don't think it's particularly impressive in any way. We've got Pixel Buds 2, so you get Gemini audio control and a few bits and pieces with that, and improved noise cancellation. Again, all of these things. Pixel Watch 5, I'm not even going to talk about because I've never seen one in the wild, ever.
And like you said, it's good they're incremental, because some years we've just wished Apple would release some incremental stuff and they didn't. So I guess at least Google are trying to keep their line going. But I'll be honest, this could have not happened and my life would be completely fine.
I think it's worth mentioning because I think it serves as an entree to what we're going to see from Apple. I don't think we're going to see very major upgrades anywhere, and we're going to see a new folding phone.
I think Apple are going to struggle, because I think maybe they were planning some reasonable upgrades and they're going to struggle to land them because of either cost or available components.
Yeah. So there we go. Nothing else to be said about that. App of the week?
Yeah, got them.
My app of the week, I've been using a bit of Linux as usual, as I try and use less macOS in my life. What I'm missing is a means of replying to people who message me. There's a little open source app. It's on GitHub. You can download it, install it now, called Blue Ferry, that sits and runs in your Linux system tray and will deliver all your notifications from any of the things on your iPhone to your Linux system tray, and you can reply to iMessages on your phone. It's not perfect. You can't do any emoji, you can't do tapbacks, you can't even send any media, but I can at least reply to people's texts on my computer without picking up my phone, and that's pretty useful.
Yeah, that is quite cool. It's a good bit of engineering, because how many hours have they invested in this for what is quite a small market? So fair play to whoever's done that.
No, I think it's great. I think not everybody has a Pixel or an Android phone. They may still have an iPhone. They're looking about moving to Linux. It could be a point of pain to see your phones ringing, as you can see on iOS now, on iOS or macOS now, or maybe you're in a process of transitioning. I think it's a valuable thing to have.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I must confess that I turn off Ring on all my devices because I hate that. I just take the phone call on my phone.
It actually gives you all notifications, though. So if you've got Teams or Slack or whatever, you'll get that push notification to say that it's happening there. And if you don't wear an Apple Watch and your phone's face down and on silent, it can be useful to have a prompt.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's good.
Thing of the week.
So I've gone, I know it's media, but I've gone with it because we've already talked about media years ago. So my thing of the week is The Bear. And I've watched season 1 and season 2, and stands up really well. Generally enjoyed it. I'd forgotten how good it was, and I'd forgotten what themes were in which show. Like season 2 is where they put a lot of it back together and stuff, and season 1 obviously is establishing it, but it was really good, just really enjoyable, so well shot, acted, fast paced, just really enjoyable. And I'm working my way up to season 5, which I haven't seen yet, but I was going to go and watch season 5 and I was like, I can't really remember it all, so I wanted to start afresh. And just such a good show. So well done. So different. I've been trying to recommend it to people to go back and try it out. But yeah, if anybody's going to watch season 5 and they can't remember everything, do go back and watch it. It's good use of your time. It's
an absolutely terrific show. The quality of the guest stars they get in is just off the charts as well. Jamie Lee Curtis as the mother is incredible. You've got John Cena pops up at one point. You've got Olivia Colman comes in as a more senior chef at one point. But the core cast are off the charts. Absolutely all of them are putting in the work. Jeremy Allen White, Eben Moss Bacharach, Ayo Edebri, Lionel Boyce, who pitches up in Project Hail Mary. He's sort of the CIA bodyguard in Project Hail Mary, which
I've still not seen that.
I can't believe you haven't seen that. It's an absolutely terrific film. Lisa, I'm afraid I'm going to butcher this. Lisa Kolyon Zayas
she's very good.
Pitches up in Spider-Man Brand New Day as well as like the detective. All of them in The Bear are firing on all cylinders, and I think it's a terrific, incredibly well constructed show that's occasionally a tough watch, but it's just incredibly rewarding, and I've got a lot of time for The Bear. I think it's terrific.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. So, but 1 and 2 still just stand on their own, even if I don't get around to 3, which I'm very confident I will. It's been a good couple of seasons, really enjoyable. And they're not too long. I think the first one's 8, then the second one's 10, so reasonable duration.
Interesting, we've barely talked about Ted Lasso, Chris.
I've watched the first 2.
Let's save it for another show, but it's obviously not hit the same cultural heights as
I don't think it is. The first one was a bit disappointing. The second one was okay. Third one drops this week, I think. So I think it's one maybe we need to review at the end. But at the moment, I'm not hell bent on it. But maybe I'm not being fair. I don't know. But it's not pushed all my buttons.
Fair. I think we can call that a show, Chris.
Yeah, I think so. So if you want to get in contact with us, Rod is at G5Minec at Mastodon.scot, and I am at _CJP at Mastodon.social. And you can watch it on YouTube by going to wakefromsleep.com and click on the YouTube link, or you can drop us an email at wakefromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.